Okay, cool. We're live.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're back. Game scrapbooking with Joe and Ben, with Ben and Joe. It's been a minute, but it's a new year, but it's an old game, uh, and we're nearly to the end of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Um, it's been a long road, um, but we are very nearly to the end of the game. I'm here on the ship on Max ship, which was moored on a an island that was inaccessible because there was no water anywhere. But we've refilled the water, and now we're on the boat.
Incredible. And meanwhile, I am making my way through what my save state has called, and who am I to deny that it's the official name, Elevator Tower, where I am uh, taking the stairs and also taking the elevator, trying to find a monster who is named Pazuzu.
Yes,
Hey,
I believe it's Pazuzu's tower or the Tower of Wind, but I think Pazuzu's tower.
well, uh, then the tower's gonna have to get a new name soon
That's right.
because he's gonna die. Oh no! I'm so excited to be back. I'm
Yeah.
overcome.
So over the last, I guess neither of us has played Mystic Quest over the break, but I have played a couple other things. I've been playing a lot of Picross lately. Um,
Okay, which incarnation?
so I started with Picross S on the Switch. I had played a Picross type game on my mobile phone before,
Okay.
but Picross S is the first Picross I spent any substantial amount of time with. I discovered that there were many excellent Picrosses available for the 3DS.
So like the DS or 3DS is sort of like the platform that I most closely associate with Picross.
Yes, it's definitely like a handheld game uh, uh, style, right?
Mhm.
So I'm not playing Picross on the Switch on the television, right? I'm holding it
Yeah,
in the handheld mode.
gotcha,
Um,
gotcha.
so I played a lot of Picross 3D Round 2.
Okay.
I had never played a Picross 3D before, and I thought that was really an interesting variation. The puzzles seem like constraint satisfaction wise, they seem simpler. They like require a little less
And
insight.
and for the folks at home
Oh
who
yes,
maybe are unfamiliar with Picross, and also for my own memory, it's you're like you're trying to like you're turning pixels like on and off. So you're deciding like you got a grid of squares and you're like filling them in,
uh,
and
yes.
you've got this beautiful
And so
display visual
each
aid.
each row and column has a number, and the numbers tell you how many contiguous, how long each contiguous run of filled blocks is. So it's kind
Okay.
of run length encoding the game. Um, and because of the constraints that are put on by the numbers, the thing I like about Picross puzzles is you never have to guess. There's never
Mhm.
ever a situation where you have to like try something, and if it doesn't work, like back it out and do something different.
Unlike, and correct me if I'm mistaken here, but unlike games like Minesweeper or Sudoku, where sometimes you have to like live in a world where you're like assuming that something is the case until eventually you discover that the set
Hmm.
of possible worlds is empty and you have to kind of like rewind.
Maybe.
Uh,
I think Sudoku is a good Sudoku puzzle should also have this property.
oh,
So
okay,
like
okay.
the game Good Sudoku on the iPhone, for example, does this thing where
Got it.
you never have to guess.
Cool, cool,
Um,
cool.
but yes, it's definitely a nice thing about this type of puzzle. Um, so the 3D Picross is like you have a cube instead of a box that you're filling in um, the things on, and it has two colors, red and blue
Ah,
blocks.
but is it always that like it's two red that are next to each other and then three green, or is it like there's three blocks next to each
Oh, so
other?
so the instead of having like two or three numbers in a row, it just tells you how many reds and how many blues. And there's different types of numbers. So there are circle numbers where it's like they come in two runs, and there's box numbers where they come in three or more runs, and then the regular
Interesting.
numbers come in one run. So
Interesting.
it sets up the constraints a little differently, but it's still definitely Picross. Um, uh, I've played about 260 of those puzzles
Nice.
in that one game. They're a little shorter. I think they're cap out at maybe 15 minutes,
Okay.
10 or 15 minutes. Uh,
Gotcha.
but I found Picross S, like the last couple pages of Picross S, like really hard. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not totally done with it yet.
And Picross S is
The Switch
not
one.
one of the 3D ones.
Yeah, that's a 2D one. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Um, but yeah, I have like Picross E. I have Picross E2 through 9. The There's like a Club Nintendo Picross that was only like in Japan. Um,
But Picross transcends language.
it's true.
Picross only
That's
uses the language of numbers.
that's right. That's once you figure out the settings, it's
Oh, sure, sure. um. So you are also expanding my Picross horizons. Like I can't claim that I closely follow the world of Picross. So I'm not necessarily surprised that there are. Oh, I got a brand new sword.
hooray.
I'm not necessarily surprised that there's so many of them, but if at the beginning of this conversation you had asked me to guess how many Picross games are there, I probably would have guessed 3 to 5. And it sounds like the actual number is significantly larger than that.
Yes, for sure. Um, yeah, I would hazard a guess to say there are at least 20 Picross games. Um,
Wow.
it's extremely popular in Japan, Japan, and also like of general interest outside of the Southeast Asia market. Um, Melissa, my wife, for you viewers, is getting into Picross as well. She's
Oh, fun,
enjoying it.
fun,
Yeah.
fun, fun. Do you ever I don't know, like have a race or like play the same puzzle and figure it out together, or are you sort of like on your own Picross journeys?
Yeah. It's parallel play. I think the neither of us is like especially competitive,
Sure, sure.
so that's not part of the
Y- Not part
enjoyment
of
for us. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh, cause and and you know you definitely know way more about Picross than I do, so I'm just asking some questions here. I feel like there are certain types of puzzle games, um, like a crossword puzzle, if you will, where like although clearly there's a lot of people who do crossword puzzles like individually and competitively, like I have some really fond childhood memories of like me and a group of friends huddling over a crossword that is perhaps
Mm.
intended for adults, but us pooling together our eighth grade brains and with 8 of us together being able to like solve sort of like a trivia night, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
same idea of like, well, we between the group of us, like we actually have like a shot at doing this, and that being like really fun. Uh, does and this is just a hot take situation. Do you feel that Picross lends itself to like a similar sense of like group puzzle solving? Like, or do constraint satisfaction puzzles in that
Um,
way?
yeah, I don't know, because I feel like with Picross or with even with Sudoku, like you hold a lot of the puzzle in your head, right?
Yeah,
And you can't really split up pieces of it so well because everything's kind of tangled up together, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
part
yeah,
of
yeah.
the dynamic of those like puzzles.
it,
Um,
for sure, yeah, the crossword puzzle is like so nicely decomposable because it's like, oh, I'll take across 17 and you'll take down,
yeah.
2. Um, but I guess like, and again, maybe this is just the way that I engage with puzzles like these, but I feel that there's always like uh, a real a real good energy at the start. Oh,
Mm.
look at this. I got this number in this little
Yeah,
blue
and it's
box.
like 50 to
Oh, I've
cross
got this.
here, and like there's a 1 and a 13 and a 1, and we know.
And and then after that sort of like initial rush, it tends to like slow down a lot because like, oh well, based on what you've discovered, the only new thing you can fill in is like this one piece, and until you see that, you're like at a loss.
Yeah, definitely. It's a puzzle where you hit these sort of, I don't know, saddle points or something,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
your options are pretty limited. Um, but it feels very rewarding when you like do find the thing, and then a lot of the puzzle collapses. I think like the
Yes,
propagation step in those
yes,
puzzles is like very satisfying.
and, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and so I guess, I mean, and again, this is all just musing out loud, but like having, if if you are truly stuck on that one step for a long enough time, you open the door up to onlookers also loading the puzzle into their head, and then
Yeah,
it can become like, oh well, now everyone is looking for that one missing link,
for sure.
and maybe, yeah, I don't know, maybe it might disrupt the satisfaction of the propagation step
Oh, sure,
afterwards.
because it's like with 5 more minutes, I could have seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe, perhaps. I guess now it's starting to get into the specific context of like what does Sudoku mean to you, and where are you deriving the joy? Like, was it the act of you solving it on your own that was
Hmm.
fun, or was it just the
Having the boxes be filled in.
exactly. Um,
The other things I've been playing over the break, there's so the Pixel remaster of the original Final Fantasy has come out on Apple Arcade. So that's a
oh,
game
okay.
where like I don't think I could justify purchasing it as like a product, because I've played the game so many times, and
Sure.
it doesn't necessarily have a lot to offer me. Um, but if it's part of a subscription I already have, then may as well, right?
Sure.
Download and play it. And it's interesting. I haven't played any of the Pixel remasters, in part because of the typography. Just like the font that they choose and the kind of spacing of the text is
Yeah. Okay.
very distracting.
I don't want to derail the conversation, but I'm glad that you're bringing that up, and I find that so off-putting, and it is bewildering to me that all of these Pixel remasters have these, you know, choices that, like, I agree, feel very very off-putting. But we can come back to that in a little bit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. As far as the art, I feel like honestly, I prefer the originals or the WonderSwan color graphics. I don't know that the like high res pixel art is like really does it for me, but I understand that's a matter of taste, and it may be just a matter of my nostalgia or like what I'm comfortable with, right? Like how I'm used to seeing the presentation. Um, the game mechanics are largely unchanged. I think some bugs have been fixed, like around evasion or around elemental weaknesses and things like that were just like,
Yeah, wasn't there like, and maybe we even talked about it on this
yes,
show. Like, there's like a stat in the original Final Fantasy that just is literally not factored into any
yes,
equations.
that would be the
Is that
evade
evasion?
stat. Yes,
Okay.
for players, I think for monsters it is factored in.
Ah.
Um, there are also like there's a power up spell that doesn't do anything. Um, it's supposed to do something, but they don't include it in the right calculations, and so it has no effect.
Wild.
Um, it's like every programmer's nightmare, right? You think it works a certain way, but actually it just doesn't. Yeah.
But then there's so many other elements going into these equations that it's like it's not obvious that it's like, oh well, is it, does it just seem like it didn't make a big difference, or is it? Yeah, I mean,
yeah. And knowing what matters and what doesn't, like, is part of the pleasure of learning to play a game. It is just maybe a little unsatisfying if one of the things that is, supposed to matter just doesn't in a way that's not like designed, right?
Yes, and in the, if I'm remembering, at least in the original implementation, the NES implementation of Final Fantasy, like, your characters can only learn like 3 spells at any given level, and there's no way to like forget a spell. So if you have learned one of these useless spells, that you would have no way of, I mean, you really, unless you have the strategy guide that we already bonded over, like, you really have no way of knowing the goodness of any given spell,
or a piece of equipment.
What's that?
Or even piece of equipment.
Yeah, yes. Although though that's maybe like a little more forgiving because you can equip and unequip.
That's true. Yeah, the other things... Okay, so there were some good quality of life improvements. Like, there's the ability to forget spells, for example.
Okay.
There's a shared inventory rather than, like, per character, like 4 slots for weapons and 4 slots for armor, which was like an interesting economy thing. Yeah, like, you really had to manage, like, well, this weapon, like, if I use it as an item, it does something good, but then I'm like, I have 1 less slot for, this or that thing that I actually want to carry around.
Yes.
I am a little bit lost.
Takes for to know. What about like on the like equipment screen, like before you buy a piece of equipment, is there any indication?
It shows you like, this is gonna be like, it has this much attack and this much whatever, and it will increase your, like, these people can equip it, right?
Yeah.
And
all of that is
useful
real
stuff.
nice.
Yes. But yeah, I found it enjoyable.
How far did you get?
I played through it twice. Once with a party, once with like a standard party of like fighter, thief, black belt, red mage.
Cool.
Because I was like, there are a lot of pretty good equipment items like later in the game. I like this composition because you get to actually use like almost all the items that you find, as opposed to like, you find like katana and you just like can't use it because you don't have a ninja, right? Or you get Excalibur and you can't use it because you don't have a knight, right? So I played through once like that, and they do some other things, like the like healing items are easier to, like, they're cheaper, easier to come by. You can buy 99 of something at a time instead of having to buy one at a time.
Yep.
There's actually now an item that cures death, like a life potion or Phoenix Down
like
kind
a
of
Phoenix
thing.
Down or a life potion. Gotcha.
Yeah, which is a game changer. So I feel like a lot of these things, to modernize it, remove a lot of the stress of like the push your luck aspect of dungeons in that game, because it's just really a race against your healing, because random encounters can do a lot of damage, and it's like a very old style like dungeon crawler kind of vibe. So
like do I think I can keep going?
Or should I like try to get back? Like, I need to, even if I could get to the end, I need to save enough like resources that I can actually get out of the dungeon after. All these kinds of things. They're just not really considerations in the new version. um,
Yeah,
which is
which
fine. You know, it's a different game. It doesn't have to be the same game. It can be less about managing resources and more about like, gain levels make the numbers go up, and
yeah,
keep at it until you win,
yeah.
which is fine. That's totally a valid like aesthetic experience.
And I would imagine might have contributed to you having enough time to play through the game
Sure.
twice.
Um, yeah. What else? What else? Oh yeah, the second playthrough I did my traditional sort of incredibly overpowered four black belt party.
Is so for black belt is the way to go?
I think so. You never have to worry about equipment. You just leave them unequipped through the whole game, essentially,
Okay,
because their damage scales with their level.
gotcha.
Um, and you can pretty much steamroll virtually anything. They don't have a ton of defense, so some encounters, especially some boss fights, can be a little on the tricky side. But oh yeah, the other thing that this version has is after you purchase the fairy in a bottle at the bazaar, you can then buy like these items that have the effects, consumable items that have the effects of like haste or temper or these like spells that boost your
Cool.
abilities.
So
So
so now even a party with no magic users.
can get those really useful buffs. Yeah, and you could get some of them. Like the giant's gloves would give you a saber, I think, and the like a power up spell. Um, but yeah, it definitely makes the party even more of a force to be reckoned with. And the level cap is raised to 99. That's the other.
What's the level cap?
Either 30 or 50. I can't remember.
Interesting. Oh, I didn't remember that.
So all in all, I think it's a good version of Final Fantasy. I I think that there's a ROM hack that's better. The Final Fantasy Restored, it's called,
Okay.
which is obviously you don't get the new arrangements of the songs, and you don't get the like all of the quality of life features like the separate character inventories, for example.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
But I think it's I feel like the ways in which the pixel remaster are easier are ways that make the game like largely ways that make the game less interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and doesn't have like a lot of richness in the first place. Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, a lot of. I mean, beyond nostalgia, which of course is a potent ingredient in, uh, the spot that any given game might occupy in your heart. Um, I like just like at the time, it was so like the idea of there being all these multiple towns and all these people that you could
Yes,
talk to, like
multiple
there were
party
so
members even.
few games that were like that. Um that it like that was so new and exciting and wonderful that like I I could imagine that like if if we were still living in a world where there were only two other games that had a big world that you could explore with people that you could talk to. I mean, whatever, more than that, but like a small
Yeah.
number. Um, uh, we we probably would be really excited for these like changes.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, but now that we have, we live in an embarrassment of riches of vast RPG style games. Now it's like, well, actually, these things that in some ways might be viewed as archaic game design choices uh, were actually also pretty like integral to the personality and uh, I don't know, like as you say, like interestingness of the game.
Yeah,
By
for
by
sure.
by ironing out the wrinkles, we put a hole in the shirt.
Yeah. That's a useful turn of phrase there. Yeah.
Thank you.
This this ship is really testing my ability to figure stuff out. It's a little opaque here. How are you doing in the
Oh,
tower?
even when we were playing the game regularly, remembering how to get through dungeons, viewers will remember, has never been my strong suit. And you can imagine that the problem is only made worse when you haven't played the game in a couple of months. But I'm having a great time. I'm just walking around. I'm flicking axes, flicking switches with axes. I'm fighting monsters. I'm leveling up. I'm hanging out with my good friend Joe, having talking about Picross, having a great day.
I cracked the ship. I figured out the thing that I was missing, which is climbing upon the masts.
You can climb up on the mast. Mm.
It is.
It doesn't have the little.
You don't even need the claw to do it.
You don't even need the claw.
It's this lock and key thing is not any longer relevant.
I see. They're like, yeah, just have it. I think that perhaps I remember being confused about not being able to climb on the masts back in the day.
There's like just the vaguest suggestion of a hint in this one.
What does a character like say something?
No, not even that. So in the area where you can first come upon the masts and the sails, so there's this is the room, right?
Okay.
And the only kind of interesting thing about this space is that the wooden panels here have like little cracks on them, and same here. This panel has a little wooden crack.
Yes.
Which doesn't to me suggest like, hey, you should come in here and climb on stuff. But nonetheless, that's like a difference in that room compared to other areas.
Got it. So you are what I might describe as very charitably saying, oh, this slight visual abnormality is intended to let the player know, there's something special about this area. And so
maybe, yeah.
Gotcha. That I feel like that might be you meeting the game more than halfway, but
I think so. I wandered around a while, nearly half an hour, right? Chatting, of course, and not focusing all my attention, but yeah, it was not obvious.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But now, of course, we're in a.
Now, you found the missing Sudoku square.
Yes.
You're off to the races.
We're in another connected component of the graph, right? We're in a different neighborhood. I guess the other game I played a bunch over the break, although I didn't finish it. It's meant to be replayed, and I'm only maybe a third of the way through. The first play is Trials of Mana, the Seiken Densetsu 3 remake.
Oh, yes.
So that's also available on Apple Arcade now. Again, one of these games where like I probably wouldn't have bought it, but that it's on a subscription makes it something I can, mess around with.
Justified. Have you played this game before?
I have played the like a fan translation of the Super Nintendo version or Super Famicom version.
Got it. Okay. I'm sorry for not following along. This is an actual like this one is like in 3D.
Yeah, this is like a 3D remake. Got it. And it adds some quality of life features again. It adds like a lot of replayability stuff. Another set of like prestige classes. There's a class change mechanism in this game. Have you played it?
Yes, but only briefly using a emulator of Super Nintendo version. And so I did not get incredibly far. So I take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I remember feeling a little like the promise of there's all these different characters, and you can choose who you want to be the main characters, and based on that choice, it will affect your journey,
Yes.
and you'll run into the other characters, and that will be, affect you in different ways. Like all of that was extremely exciting to me,
Yes.
and then I felt ultimately like that was a check they wrote that they did not fully cash. Like I didn't,
Yeah.
and maybe I just didn't get far enough, but it felt like there wasn't that much of a difference, I suppose.
Yeah, I think most of the game is the same. Like the introductory chapter is different. There's like 6 different ones of those, and then the ending. I think there are 3
Okay,
variations on it. Like there are different pairs of characters that would. So like Duran the warrior and the magician lady whose name I don't remember. They're like one like pair, right?
gotcha,
And they have the same like final dungeon or whatever, or final couple of thing before the final dungeon, whatever it is. I don't remember exactly.
gotcha. And there's enough of these that like no matter what 3 characters you pick, you'll always have at least one of these designated pairs.
Yes,
Okay.
it depends on who your front person is actually. So
Got it, got it.
yeah. So the front
Um,
person determines like what your initial and final like part of the arc is
gotcha,
is like.
gotcha, gotcha. Um, it uh, and again, I'm going to maybe reveal my ignorance here, but I mean, I will, of course, always refer to it as the Secret of Mana series,
Yes,
though I recognize that that's inaccurate. And the
I think it's like a
Secret of Mana
holy sword
series.
legend or something.
What's that?
Holy sword legend, I think. Seiken Densetsu. Legend of
Cool.
the holy sword. Yeah.
Um, I love that. Okay, Legend of the Holy Sword. Cool. I did not know that. So what? Maybe instead of like making a statement, I will instead rephrase it in the form of a question. What is the relationship, if any, I guess, between Legend of the Sacred Sword and the Saga series?
Yeah, great question. So the Saga series is separate from
Okay.
Seiken Densetsu. They both originated on the Game Boy,
Okay.
and so they had some like art assets and stuff in common. I don't know if the same people worked on many of the earlier entries, um, or if it's just a matter of like, oh, we had these assets around and we'll share them. Uh, the Saga series does eventually later on do the thing of like pick which character's story you're gonna do, and during that story you're gonna also see the other characters show up, like Saga Frontier.
Which is why the connection that I am
Yes.
making in my head. Yep.
So Saga Frontier is the first of those games which I remember does that. I didn't play a lot of the Saga or Romancing Saga games.
Me neither. And Saga Frontier is also specifically the cultural touch point that
Yes.
I am using as the exemplar Saga game, which may or may not be fair.
Yeah, so I played Saga 1 through 3. I have not played the Romancing Saga games in any serious way. And I've played Saga Frontier. I started to play Unlimited Saga, but I just couldn't really get into it. But yeah, the Seiken Densetsu games, they're not really related. They're
Okay.
their own thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it is, I guess, interesting that both of them sort of like play around with the idea of like, well, if everyone is the hero of their own story, and being the
Yeah.
protagonist is almost a matter of perception. And although you're the hero of your journey, you're going to be a helper or maybe even an antagonist in like someone else's story.
Yeah.
Which
And that does happen in Seiken Densetsu 3. That does happen in Trials of Mana.
Okay.
The like I just experienced the Valkyrie lady shows up and has like a plot arc, even though she's not part of my party, right? We do
Gotcha.
stuff like involving her like crew, and it's part of the thing. We bump into like other people in pubs and stuff, but it's not like a major thing so far. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if I'll finish it. It's very like, even on the Super Nintendo, it had like, it just feels really long. I don't know. It's like the pacing is not right for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there's like too many steps and too much like going back and forth between places that you've already been to go to the
Yeah.
next thing.
Yeah. I remember so I didn't get through it, and I didn't get through it because I got like stuck. Like not stuck in like, oh, this is too hard, but like I am I am not sure where I am supposed to go next. Like it is unclear to me where the game wants me to go or who the game wants me to talk to. And so I played for, my final play session was probably around, like an hour of just like revisiting every screen
Mm-hmm.
and like did I miss a door? Did I miss an exit? Like did
Yeah.
I not talk to a plot point character? And eventually being like I think maybe I don't want to play this game. I don't think that the joy that this game is bringing me counterbalances the frustration that I'm feeling in this moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff it does, like in its class progression and in the way like magic in the game work. There's like a lot to like about it. Um, but I feel like it feels kind of padded out to me, and maybe it's just that I've done this kind of game like too many times already.
Enough times that yeah. Like so the magic system. So I remember in Secret of Mana, you befriend elemental spirits, and so you befriend the water, magic giver, and the earth, you Undine and Gnome and Salamand and all these people, and then you have two party members. One specifically learns offensive magic spells when you befriend the person, and one specifically learns like defensive spells. And and each individual character has like a level within each element that accrues as you begin to cast more and more spells of that element, which doesn't unlock new spells, but just makes the spells more powerful.
Yeah, that's the Secret of Mana thing. I think that the second in sets 3, I don't think it has like spell levels and weapon levels in the same way.
Okay.
Um, it's more like there are just more types of spells that do more different things.
Okay.
The main thing that's different about leveling up is that you choose where your stats go. And when your stats go into different things, it unlocks new abilities as well as like higher stats in that area.
Oh, that's cool.
So like you may have met, Undine or whatever, but if you haven't put enough points into your int stat, you won't have access to like the water spells. You need
Got
both.
it.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Oh, got it. So it's both plot progression and stat allocation.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Um, but it's not like, oh, you have to have this at the time that you
Right. It's just
in the
you've
story.
sort of unlocked it once you've met both criteria. Yeah.
Cool. How forgiving is the game in stat reallocation?
There's a way to do it. I think it costs money or something. I don't remember.
Okay. But not impossible.
Not impossible.
Who so I guess just to kind of like link some of these conversations together, we both commiserated briefly over how in the Final Fantasy remakes they have a weird font, or like have a font choice that just
Yes.
feels a little ugly. Um, how's the font in Trials of Mana?
It's like, it's fine. It doesn't have the incongruity of like a proportional width font thrown into like a pixel art world, right? it doesn't have the weird like size mismatch problem
Yeah.
that the pixel remasters do, where just like the weight is wrong and everything about it is just like feels off.
Yeah.
Um, the writing is not great. It's a little I don't know, generic, right?
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh,
that's
like
about
not full of the charm and regional dialects of modern Dragon Quest games.
It's easy to poke fun at the modern Dragon Quest games, but yes, indeed, it is not.
Oh,
It's
I am so sorry. To be clear, I do understand that poking fun is something that society at large does. That was not what I was intending to do. Huge fan. Huge fan.
me as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
I love that kind of, over the top, sort of theater school style of writing. Like you see it in the Final Fantasy Tactics PSP remake, the War of the
Yeah,
Lions.
yes,
It's
absolutely.
it's incredibly like flowery and artificial, and like nobody would talk that way. But that's like, it's bigger than life, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I feel the exact same way, and I mean I feel like I love them. Like I feel that it like gives it like goes so far towards giving each town its own
Yeah.
feel, like its own personality, and in particular, as like a specific example, the in Dragon Quest 11, the underwater, the mermaid town,
Yeah.
like there's mermaids and little like sea creature monsters, and like every mermaid speaks in haiku, if I'm remembering, and
Yes.
every little sea creature monster speaks with like a very particular kind of like slant rhyme or something like that. And just like the sheer amount of like literal poetry that had to be written for that, presumably translated into every
Yes.
single
And
localized
presumably
language.
also in Japan, like slant rhyme doesn't really exist, I think, and like the whole poetic scheme, like certainly haiku exists in Japan, but it's likely that they're using other combinations of poetic forms, right?
Yes. I'm and that's one town in a game with 20 or 30 towns, each with
Yes.
and like I the poetic nature of that really resonates with me and really like stands out in my mind. But like truly, the amount of authoring effort, even if perhaps there are some people that want to poke fun at it, like it's almost audacious, like how ambitious it
Yeah.
is, and like as is the case with classic RPGs. I mean, I actually, honestly, we're maybe not particularly seeing it all that much in the game that we're currently playing, but like in mini games, it's like, okay, after this plot event, all of the characters are now going to be commenting on this. Oh, and now you've talked to the mayor and you've agreed to go to the quest. Well, now that's what all the town members are talking about, and
Yes.
it's like a new set of 30 poems for
That's right.
every little quest flag that you've like flipped from false to true. I just it makes me so happy that they did it. By gum, they cared enough that they did it. And maybe not every single poem is an incredible, amazing. Maybe the weapon shop person just has 4 different ways of saying please buy weapons from me. But even that is delightful in its own way.
Yeah, I think what you're saying about it, like producing the impression of a place is really key. This is something that they've done in the Dragon Quest localizations since, like, I don't know, the Game Boy Advance kind of DS kind of era when they started doing.
That's what I associate it with, like the Dragon Quest, like 4 or 5, the Zenithian trilogy, like
Yes.
remake. Yeah, yeah.
And it really it makes even though like the sprites in each town are all the same, like 5 people or 10 people, it still gives much more of a sense of like placeness to the parts of the world. It makes them kind of interestingly distinct from each other. They matter in some kind of way. I feel like Dragon Quest VII also pushed on this really hard, because the first time you go to each town, it's like everybody's turned to stone,
Yep.
and you have to like do something to fix that. And yeah, I think it's the whole package is very you really, even if you ultimately move on and never come back to that town again, it feels like a complete arc, and interestingly different from the ones you were in before. Yeah. Dragon Quest VII also went on a little long, I feel. But
I'm, yeah, I, I did play Dragon Quest VII to completion, but I had a little bit of a hard time.
yes.
Getting through it.
Yeah, it's like there are a few times when it feels like the game could wrap up nicely at this time, and then it just kind of keeps rolling.
Yeah.
I feel that way about a lot of big budget films too, like the Christopher Nolan Batman movie. I felt was the same kind of thing. It was like, oh, like that was a nice movie, and like, oh my god, there's still 40 minutes left.
Yeah. I feel AI, Steven Spielberg, Haley Joel Osment.
I did not see it, but I know the movie you're talking about.
Yeah. Just same idea. So I'm starting to attack people with this claw, and it seems like it just kills them instantly.
Some things are weak to the instant death effect.
That's awesome. What have I been doing using Excalibur this whole time? That's weak sauce.
Yeah, you trade attack power for it, but yes, it's nice when it works.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't necessarily play too many games over the break. I've been working my way slowly through the Great Ace Attorney, the Phoenix
Yes.
Wright prequel entries. And I'm enjoying them quite a bit. I'm a huge Phoenix Wright fan in general. I am currently probably around midway through the second game. And I will say that it took a little bit of time for the characters in the prequel games to sort of like grow on me. Not that I didn't like any of them. Like all of them are, kind and charming and well written. But I do sort of feel that like in the original Ace Attorney trilogy, pretty much like from the jump, I was like, I love Phoenix, I love Larry Butts, I love Winston Payne, I love the Judge, I love Edgeworth, I love Gumshoe, I love like every new character was like, oh, it's my new best friend. Like, oh, I think this person is like so interesting and great. And that is generally not how I felt. Like I found everyone to be a lot more subdued, I guess. And which is arguably more realistic, but also less interesting. And then when characters like weren't subdued, like when characters had like a character trait, the character traits all took the form of, and again, have you played Phoenix Wright? Are you
I've
familiar with
played
Phoenix?
some of the first Phoenix Wright. I haven't played much Phoenix Wright. I'm interested in
Oh,
playing more, but I haven't played
oh,
any yet.
okay. Well, without
Spoil away.
I'll just monologue for a little bit longer. In the second game, you are introduced to a new prosecutor who like her personality trait is that like she has a whip and like she's threatening to like attack you with it and she's like whatever like a whatever an antagonistic force and she's interesting and she's fine and eventually you learn about her tragic backstory and she becomes more interesting at that point, but for a long time it's just like this is my thing, I'm gonna make a bunch of whip based puns or whatever, I'm gonna like threaten you
Hmm.
with this thing, and I found that to be comparatively less interesting than most of the characters in the first game, and I feel that like a lot of the characters in these prequel games sort of like adhere to that sort of like style of characterization of it's like I've got my thing and I find a way to kind of like filter every line of dialogue through the lens of this thing and
Yeah,
like
this is like the
and
Saturday morning cartoon kind of.
yes, yes, and yeah, exactly, and I think part of it is like well every character has a finite set of animations, and if this one character has a whip in their animations, well, then we're going to make sure that they're talking about that whip so that we can make use of these animations that we worked
Right.
so hard
The
on.
animations being probably one of the main costs in developing the game, right?
Absolutely, and they're great. The animations look great, but yeah, it if 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 it I mean I'm saying that facetiously. I have no idea if that actually is animations are driving narrative content or dialogue in any way. But if they are, I think that it is oftentimes to the detriment of the realization of these characters, and uh, I would love for and anyway I sorry and I'm also despairing at the realization at just how lost I am in my dungeon. um I this is
So, so this in this dungeon, you're essentially chasing down Pazuzu. So he's going to
yes,
continue to like run to different parts, different floors.
yes.
Um, the that thing might be a switch. It looks like a little hook thing, but I feel like
Wait, what?
I don't
No,
know that little
that's
hook
a
thing.
hook thing.
Where do you? But oh, I see. There must be a way to get to the other side of that. Um, eventually, you'll need to use that. So I think you're trying to go now, like back down to the second floor. After you get
Well,
to the top.
I was just at the second floor like a second ago. So
Oh,
the good news is
did you
I've
see?
cleared a path. It
Okay.
is easy for me to get to the second floor.
Yeah, there's sort of two sides of the tower, and you've like you go up one side and go down the other side.
Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, that's definitely a way back. So I think go on the right there. Um,
And work my way back
do you
down.
have the flare spell as well? Did you find that?
Uh,
Yes, you have it. Great.
yes.
Um, so if have you talked to Pazuzu yet? Did you see him and he like ran away?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so he's gonna be on some floor,
Yeah.
and you pretty much just have to walk through the floors until you find the one he's on.
Okay. Okay.
The elevator switch. Have you hit that? The one on this floor?
Oh,
There
I
he
found
is.
it.
Yeah, great. So if you get to him, then you should be in good shape. I'm in the final dungeon right now, and it's essentially like you get a random mix of strong enemies from different dungeons through the game,
Okay, cool.
and then also stronger versions of the Crystal Guardian boss fights.
Gotcha.
So I'm on the third one of those right now.
You're
Um,
tearing through this.
the ship is actually kind of a short dungeon if you know where you're
If
going.
if you know that the mast
Yes,
is
yes. Um, and then this dungeon doesn't have any like special items or equipment or anything, so it's just a kind of a straight line to the
Okay,
bosses. There's
cool.
some little mini puzzles and stuff, but it's nothing too
There's,
extreme.
for me, getting lost is like the number one puzzle that I struggle with.
So I wonder if on your situation you might need to like go down a floor and then come back up to get to floor 5, but I'm not totally
Yeah,
sure.
it seems like it. I was secretly hoping that maybe there was going to be like a door that would reveal itself down there. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go down these stairs.
But you know where he is at least.
And now my dream is to go up a flight of stairs.
Maybe. Uh, hmm.
So okay, this is where I was at the beginning of today's session. I
Yes.
I swiped that switch today.
You're on second. You're on the fourth floor right now, right?
Oh, look at this. Here's
Oh,
some stairs
great.
going up.
You like stairs. Oh, this is going to take you probably more floors than you. Oh, you're on
Hmm.
6 now. So you need to find a way to get down to 5.
Yeah.
You cannot cross
Uh,
that way.
yeah.
It looks like you
Oh,
can get from above.
can I fall down?
You can walk down a flight of stairs. If you can get up to 7, you could come down to 5. I saw an upwards staircase in the. Oh wait, go to the right. Go up. Is that the one you came down
I
through?
think this is where I was just a second ago.
Uh-huh.
So here he is.
So how do you get to that area down there? There's like an up staircase that you must be able to take from 4. Is there a different?
But can I jump down here? Is this like a hole I can go
No.
down? Okay. Hmm. Well, you said something about 7. I got to floor 7. Oh, and there's a monster that I haven't killed yet by
And a way
the
down.
stairway. That looks promising.
That could be something.
Okay. Okay. Haha. Okay. Okay. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it?
And the boss fight. Hooray.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Thank you.
So he has a gimmick.
Okay.
And he also has a weakness.
Ah. I hope his weakness is air.
It is. Flare and arrow are both good choices. However, he will put up a spell reflecting shield at some point.
Okay.
Well, I think that's all I have time for today. But as always, it was a pleasure to see you and chat with you and talk about games and play a game together. And
The pleasure is all mine. And think. Oh. Uh oh. Um, and I will. I still have a little bit of time, so I will see if I can wrap this guy up.
Yeah, cool. Don't forget to upload your state at the end.
Absolutely.
And I'll see you next time
And
for
and and
maybe
and
the.
congrats again on
Oh,
your
yes,
wonderful
thank you.
news.
Yes. So for context, my news is I will be promoted to associate professor at the end of this academic year. So that's the sort of next stage in my professional life cycle, um, which is very exciting. Big news.
Huge deal.
All
Like
right.
and a lot of stress. Even though Joe was a shoe in for it and so clear that he has earned it 100 times over, the system is built such that despite someone who tirelessly invests their heart and soul into their work, such as Joe, can still be filled with uncertainty as to whether or not it's going to like pan out the way you want it
It's
to.
true.
So
It's true. There's always that glimmer of doubt that can take up residence.
so
But
congratulations.
we're through. We're past the tricky part. Um, See you next time. Don't forget to
See you
upload your
next time.
states. Goodbye.
Bye.